So today we're going to go over dominance, how you can profit from moves that no one is looking at using other charts on your trading view. This is a good one. Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. If you're new, subscribe, bell button, leave a like. New viewpoint, I know, because I've got a huge monitor. This is a massive beast in front of me, which is great for analysis, right? So today we're going to do a walkthrough, talk through of how to view dominance in a better light, better than the previous videos that I've done, because TradingView have allowed a new panel to go onto the bottom of your chart to allow you to see things. Now we're going to give you a trading strategy here to allow you to do this correctly, i.e. buy when an asset is low and sell it for when it is higher in that pair. So whether that is Ethereum, whether that is BTC, or some other pairs that are on other exchanges, you can utilize certain tools here, and I'm going to give you them. So make sure you do subscribe if you like this content. If this is too much for you as well, go on to Learning Crypto. You will learn a lot in terms of the links, or Patreon if you want a more personal experience. Now, it's important to note a few things. When the dominance of an asset changes, it's going to affect the price of the overall unit. I've mentioned this before. It's getting, for some people, you get it. Some people, you're like, what are you on about? For example, a Satoshi price is the USD price of an asset, i.e. if something is worth, say, 60 Satoshis, you put it into the formulator calculator on whatever, whether it's on Google, whether it's on whatever exchange account, you put in 60 sats, it will give you and spit out the USD price. It is the same for the Ethereum price, it's the same for all the other coins as well, right? Okay, you're probably thinking, what? Well, I'm going to teach you a little trick that will enable you to get in on assets at the right time instead of losing Satoshis, which is overall the wealth characteristic of your portfolio, essentially, right? Don't look at USD all the time. Always look at how many BTC is your overall portfolio worth, for example. All the same with Ethereum if you're looking to do that. So let's go into the chart. Let's play around. Let's show you a few little tricks and tips, and you will probably get something out of this. Right. Hello. I'm back. Now, this chart is just the BTC chart. Okay. You need to look on TradingView and you need to find the .d chart, basically. So you got BTC.d. Very, very simple. And you've got Ethereum.d, and you've also got other ones as well. So if you go onto the symbols, go to index, and basically if you just put in .d, you're going to find a lot on here when you go to the crypto side of it in terms of that. But if you know them anyways, it's relatively straightforward. So for example here, you can do .d. And when you go on the index, crypto cap, I think you can get crypto cap on here. Maybe not. Thought you could. No, you used to. They've changed it. But either way, right, you can see very, very clearly that if you just put in any decent top asset, it's going to come up with a dominance. Now, I would only stick to the BTC and the Ethereum dominance to make it simple, right? So what does it mean? Now, this video is going to put this chart as an oscillator on the bottom of your current chart to create a little trading strategy utilizing trend analysis. Simple as that, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to go onto a random Ethereum asset, right? So we're going to go onto Avalanche, go into crypto, bear with, and we're looking for on here in the Ethereum pair, this one basically, right? So it's paired with Ethereum. What we want to do with this, we want to kind of figure it out and see what the oscillator will do in terms of the overall spectrum. Now you can see we don't have much data here, which isn't ideal, but we'll find another one obviously after that. So what you need to do, you need to go to compare, right? And all you need to look for here is the Ethereum.d chart, right? Which is there. Happy days, right? Now, when you click on it, what you want to do, you want to go to new panel. The old one was this, where it used to just put an overlay on your chart essentially, and it didn't really give you much data. What you want to actually do is remove that, and you want to put it as a new panel. Therefore, it is at the bottom, right? So you can see the coloration here. Like anything, if the Ethereum dominance is going to go down, the price tends to go up. Why is that? Because it is, increasing versus it, i.e. that is smashing Ethereum for obvious reasons. So when it goes down, ultimately, as an overall index, by the way, that will enable you to see if things are in an uptrend. Now, it isn't individual specific elements, which is what we want to talk about here. It's individual assets that you need to look at. There's a higher chance, this is where people get confused with it, if the dominance of Ethereum or Bitcoin is going down, the chances are your asset may be going up, right? Which is why we talk about certain situations with an alt season. When it goes down, it's an alt season. When it goes up, it means you're losing Satoshi. So you need to be careful, or if you're losing Ethereum, essentially, right? So when we look in the past, in past data, when we've seen the BTC dominance rise up massively, your altcoins are bleeding out. So you need to be careful, right? Now, anyways, that's only one step of it where you can see it. Now, if I go into another, I don't know, let's just go onto Ethereum as a good example here. We've got more data. We've got a bit more data here, right? I think a lot of them contracts changed. They must have changed over because it doesn't. We're not. There we go. We'll use a Kraken one. So you can see here very, very quickly, right? You can see the Ethereum dominance is rising, but the price of Ethereum, is going down. So you probably notice what's happening here, right? But what we need to do, we need to enhance this to make it better. Now you can see here, it's a bit wishy-washy. It's not great, as in you can see when it's going down. Sometimes it does go up, but sometimes when it goes up, it's not really doing the same magical thing because it is an overall index. Remember that. Before you start going in the comments, it doesn't work. Well, it does work. You just need to look at each individual asset. It's an index of everything versus the Ethereum kind of metric, right? It's how powerful the dominance is of Ethereum, right? So what we want to do here, I want to keep it super simple. I use the EMA 21. It's kind of my go-to, right? Not everyone agrees with me, but it's kind of, I think it's one of the best. Now, all you need to do here, you need to add an indicator. So if you click onto the oscillator here, which you can adjust, by the way, if you go onto the right-click function on your mouse, you go add indicator. All you need to do here is put in EMA, right? Colored EMA is one I use, by the way, if people are wondering if it changes color. If you just want to use a normal one, you can. All you need to do here is then add it onto your chart, and guess what? You need to play around with it a little bit. Now, I use the EMA 21. Now, do that, it kind of works, but what you need to do here, you need to go to the close. That is the default setting of any EMA. Don't go to the open, go to the close, and there you go, right? That is giving you it. Now, how can you make a strategical kind of gain of this? Well, it's entirely up to you how you want to read it and how you want to do it. Let me just find what color should that one. Interesting. Now, I'm happy with that. Now you can see already, right? If you start highlighting certain things, you can start to see why certain positions might be of interest to you for potential trading opportunities. Now, let's just highlight this, for example. Like, look at this, the way it goes above this EMA where it's going up. There's a chance here where we may be coming back down. Well, guess what happens here, right? If we start looking at other, indicators, because I do have an RSI up here as well, just to give you an idea, bear with me. Now, when we're looking at this, we've actually formed a bearish divergence on here, potential toppy side, and you're above, this moving average. That could lead to a potential downfall. Now, as you can see here, what's actually happened overall in the swing of things here, we've went from roughly 17% all the way up to 22%. In that time period, we've actually had a massive, correction within that time period, which is important. So if overall in that time period alone, give or take, we've had a 50% correction in the Ethereum pair. So what does that translate out as? Well, that would indicate if you bought Ethereum and you then put it into Polkadot at that moment in time, which is roughly the 4th of November or 3rd of November, you would have lost half, 50% of your bag in Ethereum. So say, for example, here, you put one Ethereum in, it'll be 0.5 Ethereum left in wealth. Now let's look at this, because I know people are going to ask the question. Let's go to the 4th of November. And we're going to put it all the way down to the 20th of December in terms of USD, because I know people are going to ask a question. This is what it looks like on the normal charts, right? So if we're going to go from the 4th of November here, bear with me, which is roughly here, down to this level here, which is roughly, you would have also lost 56% in fiat. I want to show you and highlight the differences in percentages. So you can notice here, you would have kept more Ethereum. If we're going to do it in BTC, Another correction here. The fourth. There you go. 41%. So actually in this time period, you would have actually kept more Satoshis versus USD and versus Ethereum, which is why I always use the BTC, because it always falls the least. So I hope that helps. So let's revert this into some sort of trading mechanism and a strategy for you to accumulate, right? So if we go back onto where we were, into the Ethereum side of Polkadot here, which does make sense because we've got an Ethereum one on here. With this, by the way, you can only use Ethereum pairs. Just if you want to use it as Bitcoin, sorry, you'll have to just use the BTC pairs. So you can see here, much better to be in the BTC side of it. However, right, if we're looking at a trading strategy here, right, we've got to be somewhat careful. I would highly recommend using a higher time frame for this because it is a lot easier to read. Now, I've always found the BTC dominance is much easier versus the Ethereum dominance. However, you can find moves pretty quickly because things do happen pretty, they do tend to happen. Now, the one thing with this, you can see here, Polkadot was, doing really well in the entire market. But the structure of this was interesting because we were forming a bit of a downtrend here. So we've had a high, we've had a low, we've had a lower high, lower low, right? In that time period with that going down, we've had Polkadot going up. In the same period again, when this was actually just flying up and in an uptrend alone, we were melting pretty significantly. So we've got to look at stuff like that. But that just gives you an idea. If we go back in time a bit more as well, you can see here this massive upshoot here where this is going up massively. This was also melting. So you can see here a massive momentum spike from March all the way up. The Ethereum element of this was melting. And again, look at the reverse side. This was going up to a low. You can see how the dominance works by just doing this. You can see it. Not always perfect, but it's up to you in terms of the EMA you want to use. If you're a bit of a quick trader, cool, go for it. You want to go on a lower time frame, maybe the 21 EMA, for example. But if you want to do it on a bit of a better scale, you may want to have it a bit of a fluctuation where maybe this side of it is maybe the 55, and it gives you a bit of a better kind of price variable overall, where that is going up over time. But in the time period of Polkadot, essentially from this point here where we're actually above that EMA, we've been melting all the way, right? It's a bit of a bad kind of example here, but just to give you an idea, you can probably see the trend better. So for example here, look at this, we crossed over the EMA 55, we're going up, which would naturally indicate that maybe most Ethereum pairs will be going down. And you can see here by the graph, it is actually been going down, i.e. Ethereum has been outperforming Polkadot over a period of time, and it's kind of logical. So kind of give yourself a little bit of a creative spark here. You can do whatever the hell you want with this. Ultimately, it's your call. But I'm just giving you the tools that, by the way, if you put this on your chart, you can see certain things. So when we look at other ones as well, so let's just change this now. I want to make this now. If you want to change this very quickly, go into your editing tool and just find the chart. So if we're going to do it on BTC.D now, hello, and what we'll do is we'll go back to the EMA 21. Again, flexible as you want, whatever suits you. Everyone is different, right? And what we want to do here, we're going to go to an Ethereum pair, a Bitcoin pair, there we go. So I find the BTC pair a lot easier to read versus, if you go into like the higher time frame, versus the likes of, say, for example, the Ethereum pair. I just find it much easier to read. And you can see the same situation here where this is melting below the EMA and it's just melting, and this is just pumping. Again, as it's kind of tried to do a relief rally here, it starts going up. We had a bit of an uptick here. And again, when it starts melting again, going down, guess what's happening here? We've gone back up again. And again, we go back up a little bit to retest. It's done a little bit of a correction within this period. You can kind of see it all aligns to it. But again, you can look at other situations here. So looking at, for example, here, look at that massive growth spurt here. Now, this is the element that you need to do as well, create an alert. If you create an alert, and if you even do it on this one here, add an alert on the EMA, where essentially what you want to do here is when the value of certain things happen. So you may want to go BTC, BNB.BTC, for example, crossing the moving average on that panel, basically doing it through that situation there, which is a very simple way to do, because if you're notified that, oh, by the way, Ash, every single asset is under that EMA on the BTC dominance chart. What does that indicate, you may wonder? Well, maybe you may get an uptick on a lot of pairs in the BTC pair, which is kind of what we're wanting here. So if that happens, you can start looking for trends, uptrends, above maybe the moving average 21 or the EMA 21, essentially, if you're utilizing that one on the normal candle chart, an uptrend, certainly when you look at this. So, you can see it here very, very clearly. If we go to chain link, you probably won't see it here for obvious reasons. It's been sideways. However, this is a caveat to it. You need to find a strong trend. If you find a trend that looks good, go for it. Do your fundamental analysis as well. If you find something that's good, go for it. Luna, it's done very, very well, as you can imagine. Most things have actually done pretty well, realistically. Not all of them. The reason why some of them haven't is because they've been consolidating or there have been some other fundamentals that have not happened. You can even argue, even XRP has actually worked with this strategy, which is mental, really. So that just gives you an idea. I'll go into a bit more in terms of BTC pairs here, so we can click through them so you can see. So just look on the oscillator here around this level, where on the 3-day chart we've crossed below. Look, and when I press the spacebar, you can see that most coins, most of them, have actually done very well. That's obviously the BTC. Yeah, you see the picture here. Crow was a one that was interesting. Crow didn't do anything. It consolidated for so long, didn't even create a trend at all, and then all of a sudden, boom, pop. Polkadot, we all know that one. Another one is obviously Ethereum doing well, Phantom doing very, very well. KSM, we've already looked at Link. Even Litecoin had a spurt where it actually, from this time period, we went down a little bit and then we went boom. So you got to look out for these sort of situations. But when you're on the higher time frames, you're going to notice it a bit more clear. When you delve into the lower time frames, you'll start seeing an uptrend. You'll start noticing it. But you can see all the coloration here. And this is why it annoys me when people are like, oh, but we haven't had an alt season yet. We really have, because this is melted. And you can see how every single asset has done pretty well, apart from the obvious ones where they've not been developing as much or they're not doing stuff. Like RSI is a great example here. Mainnet is coming, not really a token utility. They're just growing in the background. No real, push really, until it will eventually do, essentially, when mainnet comes. Solana, Vita, example. Most of them have done something that would create a price bump because of one metric, which is hugely important, right? Cool. So I hope that video helps you obviously create a little strategic plan around what you want to do. For me, I would definitely recommend higher time frame, a good moving average. That that it's doing a directional change. How does it work in terms of accumulation? You're probably wondering, well, if you're buying low in, say, BTC, you then sell into BTC the other side for higher, and then you keep accumulating. What I would automatically say to you is, don't just go and look to accumulate units. Just go from BTC into an asset, then look for the next one and look for the next one and keep repeating it. And then you're just accumulating BTC essentially, or Ethereum if you want to utilize Ethereum. Cool. Video done. I hope you enjoy it. A little bit different, but you can see very, very clearly that when the dominance goes down of any asset, things go up. If it's going up, you may want to leave it alone and just chill in your asset and wait for some low buy orders. That's another thing you can do. Wait for the dominance to go to a certain point, and then you can accumulate units through low Satoshis through BTC or Ethereum. Cool.